Reeling from the impending demise of Western democracy, Meghan put her phone away for half an hour to have a nice glass of wine. But then Chancellor Scholz chooses that very moment to finally sack that annoying wanker who's been ruining everyone's life and blow up the coalition. Konrad tries to piece the gossip together, while the Bundestag decides now is a good time to Germansplain antisemitism to us. In response to this spectacularly shite week, Meghan pulls the emergency brake and officially inaugurates this year's festive season. Merry Christmas, one and all.
In Berlin's heart, where news is unveiled, Meghan and Konrad with German tales. The German news, it's tough to bear. But with mega cans, they're ready to head Konrad, daily news at hand. Meghan feels to spare time to crack those cans. With each sip she takes, the mega's her shield. But will it last the news? 'Cause that was the deal.
Okay, let's just begin, shall we? Hello, everybody. It's time for another episode of Megan's Megacon. I'm Megan. I'm here in Berlin with Konrad Werner. Hello, Konrad.
Hello.
How are you?
Sorry. I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer. It's like one of those things, isn't it? How are you? Apparently, German people... I read a thing on Twitter, so it's probably true.
Yeah, 100%.
But when you say "How are you" to some people, they feel pressured, and it's like they're uncomfortable with the question.
Yes, I don't think it's...
Yeah, and so what you're supposed to ask is, "How's your day going?" And then it's an easier question to answer rather than "How are you?" because then they suddenly they get traumatized by because then they have to feel like they have to explain
certainly this
too much.
Week. Don't fucking ask anyone this week how's it going.
Yeah, so you got to especially if you're speaking English to a German person, you're supposed to say "How is your day going?" because it's easier for them to answer.
Okay, yes, I have heard this from Germans. Like when you say "Wie like they actually think that they're supposed to answer, which is not supposed to happen. I did ask you how you were going, but that's because doing a podcast, not sitting at the thing. But I think it is too hard a question to answer, so let's drink instead.
Okay.
Just in case anyone's listening to this in the future, we're recording 2 days after the results of the American election, 2024. And the collapse of the German coalition.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that today as best we can. And if we're laughing, it's not because we're making light of a situation which is fucking dire. It's just, I genuinely don't want else to do. So, also, right, what we're drinking today, couldn't really find anything. Wanted to have some delicious Jack Daniels, but it's probably from a state that voted for Trump. So I said no. Which is going to become problematic because they're one of the few that's still on 330 mils. So I'm going to need to find out what is up with Japanese politics because we're going to lean hard into the Japanese megas.
Oh, I think, They just had an election too. But I don't think we should try and...
Let's not do that.
Wade into
Actually,
Japanese
no one
politics.
tell me anything about Japanese politics for the next four and a bit years, okay, guys? Okay.
So we're boycotting the Trump voting Jack Daniels state. What's the...
I don't want to make big promises I can't keep. Okay. So let's just say for now. So
for today,
the world is a very crazy, even like more crazier than usual. And I don't know if I've ever talked about my theories of rum drinkers. Rum drinkers, to me, lovely people. Many of them are my friends, but they're also a little bit... You have to watch them on a night out.
Like, why? They're unpredictable people.
Yeah, there's something in that just makes me feel, ooh, if someone tells me, like if someone goes in and orders like a rum and coke.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep your eye on them.
Yes. So I've just decided if you can't beat them, people have surprised me this week a lot. So we're drinking rum and coke.
Okay.
You quite like rum though, don't you? But I wouldn't have you down.
I don't know.
I don't think you're someone that drinks a lot of...
I'm usually quite level-headed for,
You are. That's why we're still doing... Can you imagine if we were both as like... emotionally volatile as me. Like, there was just, this podcast would have imploded years ago. Havana Club and Cola.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to the rum drinkers.
To the rum drinkers, where we all, let's just lean in to the chaos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do like that, actually.
God. Oh, yeah. It's also 5:29 in the evening. Feels like midnight, of course, because the fucking clocks went back. So the clocks go back, and then everything else just goes mad. So, Konrad.
It's too dark. That's why people are just losing it. Okay, so what do you want to start with?
I don't know. Okay, so...
The exploding traffic light?
No, let's go chronologically. Let's just talk through Wednesday, shall we? I'll talk through my Wednesday, and then you can give the facts to people.
Okay.
We're not obviously going to talk about America that much because that's not our focus. But to set the scene, we luckily decide not to hold an election party. That is the one good thing that happened. So we decide to go. I go to bed quite early on Tuesday. I am feeling confident, and, I'm not... If there were other people on the ballot that could possibly keep Trump out, would I be voting if I had an American passport for Kamala? Probably not. But whatever. Caveat, not Trump. So I go to bed, and our teacher chat is happening, and everyone's like, first person awake, let us know what's happening. And so I wake up at 6. My alarm doesn't go off till 6:30, but I'm like, I'll just check my phone and then I'll be able to, go back to sleep. No. Oh God. Trump looks like he's going to win. And he does. And we know it so quickly, and it's so eindeutig, and so not even close. And I have to fucking go in for the second time in 8 years and talk to kids, some of who voted in the election, are really invested in American politics, and sit in front of these 19-year-olds. One of them, it was even their birthday.
Oh no.
Oh, and just be like, So we go through the day. I don't know how was your reaction on Wednesday morning?
I was quite shocked.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I was shocked by how not close it was, because we were all preparing for this sort of long drawn out legal battle, and they were all saying, "Oh, the Republicans are already preparing the ground to challenge the election results," and we thought, "Oh no, it's going to be a civil war." And then it was just like, "Oh, it's over. He just won, and he won by quite a lot." And
and the popular vote for the first time in ages.
Yeah. And it was, I think, I was a bit surprised. It wasn't it was always on the cards, because when Trump is, when it's level, you kind of had the idea that Trump was ahead, really, because that's what happened with Clinton. With Clinton, she was ahead going into the election, and then it turned out that she lost. And I think that it's quite hard to do the polling in America. That's what I kind of think, because no one trusts any of the polling.
It's a very unruly, unwieldy sort of...
So, and it seemed quite clear as well that the Democrats were not confident either, because they didn't, few of them, Democrat officials, from what you read and what you hear, they weren't confident going into the election, even though she seemed to be doing all right, and the polls were saying...
I think she did a really good job in the time she was given, but it just doesn't...
Yeah.
Anyway, but our job is not to analyse, thank the good Lord, American politics. So I go to see my friend that evening to have some wines to recover from election day. It's fine. I put my phone away. I have one glass of wine. This is 30 minutes. A space of 30 minutes I am not attached to my phone that whole day. I go to the toilet, I check my phone, and what has happened, Konrad?
Well, Chancellor Scholz has sacked Christian Lindner, the finance
German
minister.
Government, the coalition has collapsed.
And which triggering the dissolution of the coalition. And then he said he would like to have a confidence vote in Parliament in mid-January, because, it's Christmas and that. I don't know. No, that's not right. That was not the official reason. But he wanted to leave it till mid-January and then have elections maybe
so he can turn the economy around.
Yeah.
He's going to spend Christmas Day just rebuilding Volkswagen.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, everyone's off
So
work.
how does this happen? Because there was quite a bit of this that I came in too late and I'd already had some wine. So I was just...
I've been kind of catching up on this because I was away as well. And I
think I actually broke the news to you.
Yeah, I didn't know about Lindner, yeah. But anyway, it doesn't matter because now I do know. Now I am very aware. Okay. And what happened was, so a few weeks ago, Christian Lindner, finance minister, said this will be an autumn of decisions. You may remember that?
No,
so it was already...
I don't think you told me, so why would I remember? I was probably on holiday, maybe.
This was all kind of trailed that certain big decisions would have to be made in the coming weeks. And last Friday, Christian Lindner put out a paper, which he also leaked to the press, which we'll come to that as well. Leaking to the press becomes part of the story here. He put out a paper which said, these are my demands. And then the paper was basically things that he must have known the SPD would not accept. It included like tax cuts for like really rich people and then cutting pensions, basically. That was sort of what he said. And then that was his plan.
Just when I was prepared to ever be a little bit more balanced, what?
He kind of set it up in that way. And he said, this is my plan. And then they came together on Tuesday or on Tuesday and Wednesday and Olaf Scholz said, well, no, that's not going to do. We're going to have to do this another plan because this is all about the budget, which is the basic thing that the parliament has to get through. And there's a gap in the budget, as we know, because of for various reasons. One of them was the stuff with the climate, the decision that was made by the Supreme Court.
Didn't the CDU, like the little whiny bitches they are, run to the
Supreme Court, the Constitutional Court, and
we've got all this spare money, but they want to use it to stop the world from burning, but they're not allowed.
Yeah. So that was about a year ago. And that kind of paved the way for all this because that meant there was a gap in the budget and then it just became obvious that there was not going to be a compromise. And it seems that Lindner was sort of saying, what I want is a new election, right? Mm-hmm. He said, obviously we can't agree, so we're going to have new elections. And during the meeting, I think it was Wednesday morning, a news flash went up on the Bild Zeitung saying, Christian Lindner calls for new elections. And Scholz saw this. So this is
because everyone was on their phone constantly on Wednesday. Yeah. This is why we maybe shouldn't be so chronically online because it'll bring down the government.
And then that was it then for Scholz. That was like fuck you. I'm still in charge here. I'm going to fucking sack you. And that's how it happened. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, was that leak. When that was leaked, that the FDP was asking for new elections. That was what really pissed Scholz off. And he said, actually, no, I'm just going to sack you now. Apparently Lindner was not expecting this because, this is why it was all kind of quite surprising. Up until now, the row in the coalition has usually been between the Greens and the FDP. Mm-hmm. Usually, when there's been an argument, it's usually been between those two parties, and then the SPD has sort of been, and Scholz has been in the middle trying to find a compromise. That's how this has worked. Greens are now in the sort of more neutral position or on the outside. Greens, by the way, weren't really prepared for this to happen because they still got to vote for new leaders, and they were kind of thinking, okay, this isn't the final day, you know? So and then he apparently what he did first was phone Steinmeier, the president.
Who did first? Who's this?
Scholz. So Scholz goes and phones Steinmeier and says, I want to sack the finance minister because legally in Germany only the president can sack a minister, so he has to recommend it. So he goes to Frank-Walter Steinmeier and then he tells Lindner after he's already made the decision.
Were they actually in a meeting still together?
Well, they were
and Scholz is just looking at his phone. He's like, I'm going to be right back. Calls Walter. It's like, dude, do I have just cause to fire this asshole? It's like that,
And then, but because they've got 4 ministers in the cabinet, the FDP, and he doesn't sack the other 3, and he says to them, you can still carry on in the cabinet, but of course they stay loyal to their party leader, with one exception, which is Volker Wissing.
the transport minister.
Yeah, so we'll come back to him because he's kind of an extra case. Anyway, so yeah, and then Scholz does a speech.
Oh my God, it was...
In which is a very surprising speech because he was seething. He was seething.
Absolutely fucking livid. Like,
and you haven't really seen this, and apparently, like, all the time that, in the last 3 years, there's been a lot of arguments in the last 3 years, but usually at the end of the day, Scholz wanted to stay in power, and Scholz would protect Lindner more than anything. He would know that there was a blockade, but he would like try and find a compromise. So it kind of like all burst forth from him. So I'll quote a little bit. And he said things like, "Time and again over the past 3 years, I have made proposals on how a coalition of 3 different parties can reach good compromises. That was often difficult. Sometimes it was close to the limit of my political convictions. But it is my duty as Chancellor to push for pragmatic solutions for the good of the whole country. All too often, Federal Minister Lindner has blocked laws for the wrong reasons. All too often, he has engaged in small-minded party political tactics. All too often, he has broken my trust. He even unilaterally withdrew an agreement on the budget after we had already agreed on it in long negotiations." Yeah, and then he said, "Lindner publicly issued an ultimatum demanding a fundamentally different policy, tax cuts worth billions for a few top earners, coupled with pension cuts for all pensioners. That is not decent, that is not fair. Tax handouts with a watering can, and to finance them, a grab at the pockets of our cities and communities." So local authorities, yeah. So he was very angry. Lindner was also extremely angry at being sacked. He blamed the Chancellor for not being compromising enough, But obviously, it was kind of clear. And also, this is a bit of German history, because this has happened before. This happened before in the early 80s.
Oh.
There was the Chancellor Helmut Schmidt was in a coalition with the FDP at the time. In those days, there were only ever like 3 parties in the German Bundestag.
Oh, interesting.
So it was always only ever easier times. You had the CDU, stroke CSU, SPD, and the FDP.
Yeah.
And then whoever and this was unusually, in this case, they were in a coalition with the SPD, and at the time the leader was called Lambsdorff, I think. He also put out this paper which he knew that the SPD would not be able to agree to, and that brought down the government, and that ended the Schmidt's government. And then he joined Helmut Kohl. So that was kind of like they all kind of knew this history too.
Okay.
And the way Lindner kind of constructed his paper, which was to like his ultimatum paper, was sort of along those lines. That was sort of they kind of knew what game they were playing, and the way Scholz dismissed him.
I'm glad we're all playing games, boys. This is a great day to do it.
So
great times. Okay.
So that's sort of what that's what happened, more or less. Yeah. And so now there's going to be, if it's up to Scholz, there's going to be this
vote of
confidence in the parliament, but only in January. But of course, the CDU.
Oh God, Friedrich fucking Merz is just.
And the CSU, Markus Söder, are just saying, why wait so long? And the official reason why we're waiting so long is because if Scholz says we've got all these laws that we still want to pass that are very important laws, and for the sake of stability, we need to pass these laws first, and then we can do the thing. But he needs CDU votes now. If the FDP doesn't vote in favour of these laws, which they probably won't, the CDU he'll need the CDU. So basically, he's given Friedrich Merz all this political power, and Friedrich Merz can just he could block all this and force him to do a much earlier vote of confidence. So now they're in like negotiations, but Friedrich Merz has all the power because his party is leading in the polls, and he can just say,
God,
no, we want an election now.
Exchanged one weasel for another more weaselly weasel. Honestly, I think we were or I was texting with someone, like, I think we're just all exhausted. This is November. We didn't need any of this. We didn't need Trump to win, essentially, a landslide. We didn't need the German government to clap. But it is also kind of, like, the excitement of it was kind of, I don't know, maybe that's a very privileged position because I'm not. Anyway, I was thinking about the Christian Lindner thing and, like, how, like, because obviously there's, like, so many memes and little TikToks and everything about it. And I think everyone can kind of relate to the catharsis of regardless of politics, like, this is a workplace dispute. And we have all had that guy who is just a fucking nightmare to work with. And just no matter what you try, he's always making it difficult. And he just loves the sound of his own. But it's the workplace, so you have to be professional and you have to kind of like hold it together, you know. And then finally, just to see your boss just absolutely fucking crack and go, do you know what? You're a fucking dick. You're fired. I have fucking had it with your bullshit. And everyone's just like, whoa, yes.
Yeah, it was really like that. Yeah.
It's just like the catharsis of it was.
I mean, yeah, he's probably thinking, I'm going to lose this election anyway. I might. What have I got to lose? Like, I might as well just say, like.
I think everyone was like, "Wow, Olaf."
They were, and everyone, like in the media, they were all like praising this speech, and it says finally klartext and all this other stuff. You know, like everyone was sort of, this was like.
It was, yeah.
So now it's it's quite sad as well, because now a lot of laws that, you know, a lot of things that they could have brought in are not going to happen, and it's going to be very difficult.
I am clutching at like straws and silver linings here. It sucks, as someone said to me on Wednesday. Like, Wednesday was the best day in Putin's life.
Yeah,
he's got Trump back in the White House, and he's got the strongest country in Germany's government, or like the biggest economy, all of like biggest country. That's just fucking collapsing.
Yeah, now we have to rely on Friedrich Merz to protect democracy, essentially,
and Ukraine
and Ukraine, yeah. Which he said he will do. I mean, he said, like, you know, that's one issue where he's always been like really strong on Ukraine as like.
Well, that is a small silver lining, like we said, but like, fuck, this, I can't imagine.
And also because like Germany has a big decision to make now, depending on what Donald Trump does, you know, about rearming. How you can't, if Trump just stops sending any weapons to Ukraine, then Germany has to like send loads more. And I don't know, that's a big decision.
Yeah, but also I do want to point this out. I don't think Putin is like.
Anyway,
but maybe let's not get Sarah Wagenknecht anywhere near any kind of real political power, because otherwise, I just don't want to have to learn Russian. It sounds very difficult.
The letters are all different.
It's very hard. All right, Volker Wissing.
Yeah, so Volker Wissing, transport
minister.
minister.
So that lad that is, when everyone's like, "No, we will not stand for this. We're going with our bro." Christian, and he's like, no, he's a dick. I'm staying here. Sorry.
So Volker Wissing, transport minister, he decided rather than resign, he resigned from the FDP. So now he's an independent in the cabinet, and not only is he transport minister, he's also justice minister now, because they've had to redistribute all the other ministries to the remaining cabinet for the next few months.
Oh, so that would also... So this is the hangover on the next day. You're like, oh, he finally fired that asshole that we've all been talking about for 3 years. And then the next day you're like, oh, we're going to have to do his work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why he did this was quite surprising at first. But for a start, he's from Rheinland-Pfalz.
Okay.
Where he was the local party leader, and he was part of in that state, he was part of an ample coalition of a traffic light coalition, and at the time of the negotiations for this government, he was general secretary of the FDP. So he's very much seen as the architect of this coalition. Felt like interesting. He was going to be like this modernizing. He wanted to see it was basically like eco investment, you know, like a vision of an economy for the future where we invest in ecological things. So it brings in the Green Party, but it's also like business stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And,
I don't know how sound that is as a.
And it was sort of his thing. And the interesting thing about him personally is that he's extremely religious. He's a Calvinist, and he used to play the organ in his local church. He played the organ in his local church for 13 years.
People do contain multitudes, don't they?
Yeah. and there's a sort of and apparently he very much. I've just read a profile of him today, and he really struggled with the way the government was going in private, because he did really believe in trying to change people's behavior. Like, so he was going to this whole thing about banning petrol engines by 2035. That was going to be part of his. That was one of his big policies that he was going to bring in, and he was blocked by Lindner. Lindner vetoed it, so he had to like.
Oh, I'd be fucking livid.
He towed the party line.
I've got you.
And he very much feels has this sort of personal. He's kind of like he lives very frugally. He's very ascetic. He's like a proper Calvinist, old-fashioned.
I constantly want to ask people. Like, it's so weird to me what parties people end up in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. His father was also in the FDP. He's kind of like quite old school FDP. He's not this sort of new generation Lindner neoliberal bros. He's kind of like more about personal freedoms and maintaining personal freedoms. That's called the older generation of FDP. He was never in the Christian Lindner neoliberal bros kind of thing, although he kind of does believe in that stuff too, I think. But he's much more like, it's kind of like his Calvinism is quite interesting, because it's sort of the whole Max Weber thing, the kind of Protestant, how Protestantism created capitalism. You know, like kind of like this German sociologist from 100 years ago who said. The work ethic, the Protestant work ethic basically laid the foundations for capitalism, sort of thing. And he's very much like
Protestants are much less crack. I say this as a Northern Irish Protestant, the most Protestant of all, daughter of Ulster, the most Protestant of all people you can come across.
So he's like this.
We do have the poorer ideas.
So anyway, he's very much in that. He's kind of in that model, and I think that he's apparently extremely pious, as quite a pious Calvinist, and so anyway, he's now an independent in the cabinet, which is quite unusual, he is transport minister, and we have to say also, I mean, he's not great. I mean, he did fail in all his policies that he wanted to bring in, like all his modernization of transport, all these visions that he had of electric cars and improving the rail network, and hopefully. But
is that him failing there, or is that him being blocked by business bro Lindner?
I think quite a lot. He's obviously quite very frustrated with Lindner, and I think that's the reason why he left the party.
This is really sad.
Yeah.
We had the most progressive, whatever, obviously not as left wing as still pretty centrist, but
it was about as left wing as we're going to see for a while. Let's put it that way.
And I remember saying, I remember when Lindner was being courted as the kingmaker in the negotiations around forming a coalition, and I was like, it's just his whole vibe is just not. I just don't think he's like someone with, and I can have different political views. I mean, what should we do with a budget? Not on human rights and stuff, but there's people that I could probably find common ground with. And you have to have some kind of level of integrity, I think. And he's just, I don't really know what drives him. But you can't go making lists of demands and then leaking it to the press behind your boss's back. None of that is. I
really hope they don't make it into the Bundestag. They're polling now at hovering around 5%, and it would be so funny if the FDP didn't. I think it's also their time is over. The FDP is a useless party, and they have nothing to say of any value anymore. I think even economists don't agree with them. I think neoliberalism is dying as a philosophy, as an economic philosophy. I think it is. No one thinks that works anymore. Years ago, whenever they were at the time of the last election, so when was that? 2021? I remember we did a project in school, and some of my young men, 2 of them chose the FDP to look at in detail and then present. They were doing German to English text, so that's what they did. And I was like, oh God, I'm sure they're gonna, because they're really into their brands and all of this. These 2 guys, and they just stood up and they're like,
And I was like, those are your FDP voters. Like, those are their, maybe they're going to be like, maybe they're going to go and vote for them. And they just came back. They're like, well, we read their environmental policy. This is what they're proposing. That's not going to work. It doesn't make any sense. And I was like, if an 18-year-old can like call you on that.
Yeah.
When it would be like the kind of students that I would kind of expect to maybe be drawn towards that kind of business bro kind of thing. I was like, yeah, you don't maybe have anything to offer. And like, I don't understand who, but they did get a lot of first-time voters, the Greens and the FDP, in that election.
In 2021, the last one, yeah. Yeah, I mean...
But I don't see, I don't know. I just don't know what their
appeal is, really.
How's your America can going?
Good, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can just get into rum. And just start adding it to everything. It's festive. I would also like to say, okay, it is the 8th of November, but considering the geopolitical climate that we find ourselves in, I am opening the festive period.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is it now.
Yeah.
Christmas has officially
At
started.
the end of this episode, we are going to say Megan's festive tips. It's going to go for 2 fucking months. Buckle up. I don't fucking care anymore.
It's like Christmas can't come early enough for you.
Honestly,
People, I think everyone else is like Christmas. They sell the Lebkuchen in Lidl,
yeah.
but you're like,
yeah.
I want the Lebkuchen now. I want the Christmas decorations in the center aisle of Lidl.
All of it. Get everything up. If you don't have a real tree, I would say get that up now. Get up. Get out of the attic. Get off the Keller if you're in Berlin. Because also this week, and I do want to go into this in a little bit more detail, we don't have enough knowledge because, to be honest, I was not in the emotional state on Thursday to really read a lot of German. German Bundestag agreed on a resolution on antisemitism, which is like a cross-party thing. They've been discussing it for a while. Basically, I think kind of cementing ideas about how they're going to tackle anti-Semitism in Germany. And if you could imagine a document which would have seemed out of touch with reality before October the 7th last year, I don't know. Sorry, the only way it would make sense is if time had stopped on October the 7th. Or so, like if the only day that had ever happened in the existence of humanity was October the 7th, 2023, then it would sort of make sense. It's staggering that we're still having the conversation on this level with the absolute.
So it's to do with it. It's a Bundestag resolution.
Yeah.
That is supposed to. It's entitled "Never Again" is now protecting Jewish life in Germany. Protecting, conserving and strengthening Jewish life in Germany. And it's supposed to set guidelines, I guess, for what should be promoted and what should be funded in local government, including in culture and media kind of areas. And and there's sort of various guidelines such as protecting the right to existence and the legitimate security concerns of the state of Israel, adopting the anti-Semitism definition of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the IHRA, which is
in many other countries very controversial.
Yeah, it's a kind of controversial definition.
Because it equates anti-Semitism. It defines anti-Semitism as sort of criticism, or one of the points on it is that criticism of Israel can be considered. Yeah. And this is the problem because...
Yeah, the state of Israel is kind of like, is understood as...
representative of
the Jewish collective, yeah.
Which, like, I don't know how many... Jewish people need to speak out across a big spectrum of opinion to be like, hey, we're not cool with this. But that's not what we're interested here in Germany for some weird reason. So
this was adopted in the parliament yesterday, 7th of November. It was
also, I think, has some stuff about like...
So do you want to know who voted for and against it?
Yeah.
So SPD, Greens, FDP and the CDU, CSU voted in favour. The BSW, Bundesrat Wagenknecht, voted against, and the Linke abstained.
Interesting. The AfD voted for it, yes?
Oh, then the AfD, yeah.
Yeah, they congratulated the Greens on... Because it's also got a bit about the anti-Semitism that comes into Germany from North Africa and the Middle East.
Yeah, they said that it's...
the AfD were happy that definition of anti-Semitism... Like, what are we doing here?
They said that it underlined their argument, which is about imported anti-Semitism.
So if we have a resolution saying never again, and literal Nazis or our modern manifestation, whatever, like of the Nazi Party, are saying, yeah, we're cool with this. Konrad, can you make it make sense?
No. Obviously I can't. I'm just
I understand this is an unbelievably complex topic, and in Germany it's even more complex, and it's so difficult to talk about. But we've been talking about it for 13 months. We should have been talking about it in a different way for a lot longer in Germany, but it has been a tema for fucking ages, and we are still happy to blithely, despite outcry across the kind of left of the spectrum, we're still happy to put shit like this in writing and have Nazis sign off on it. And we still think like, oh cool, yeah, this is never again. What are we doing?
Yes.
The day after a fucking fascist gets voted into the White House. What's going on? Why? Why is this the reality that we have to live in? Oh, it just sucks. And I feel so like I'm so upset, and I am not personally affected by any of this in any meaningful way. We've been kind of laughing a lot on this episode because what else is to do? And that's also kind of what but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to find the hope and the thing to go and fight for stuff that should already be just enshrined now. We've been doing the uncovering of colonial stuff for fucking decades now. Like we're why can't we? So
that's all.
Two
the
things.
News.
Meghan's citizenship corner. I think that maybe if you can, I have managed to get relatively quickly. I've been offered 2 appointments actually to do the Leben in Deutschland test.
Okay.
From some of the schools that I think the language schools that we posted. Maybe we can just copy and paste that again. Did we do that? I did email you that, didn't I?
Yeah, I put that in the show notes.
So we can put those in the show notes now. And I have one, cross all your fingers and toes, on the 6th of December. So I can give you an update on that.
Ah. 6th of December.
Yeah.
Nikolaus.
Yes.
You probably should know that.
I know. I did know that. I was like, it's Nikolaus Day. I'm fucking integrated. Like, I'm sorry. I can laugh at a Christina Linda meme as well as any other German. So there's that. So contacting all of those schools that we think is a really good idea. Or you can go and do the Volkshochschule way and go and show up in person. Okay. I was going to start doing that, but then I heard back from some of these schools. So I have to go and do my presenting myself in person with my passport. And all of it, by the way, even if you do it in a private thing, it's just 25 euros. Right. So it's costs the same.
Okay.
That's that for my citizenship. I really hope that Friedrich Merz doesn't manage to weasel out an election. I think it would be really nice to wait to March. I don't think I would have my citizenship by then, but it would be nice to give it a fair go.
I mean, it's looking...
But then who would I even vote for?
That's that too. But yeah, it looks like it'll be more like February latest, I reckon. January, February, something like that. I mean, it is quite a logistical thing now because they have to... It might not be that quick because they do have to draw up all the lists and it might take a while. But the problem is the CDU has all the political power right now and they would prefer to have early elections as early as possible. So we'll just have to see.
Festive tips. Okay, if you're not a festive person or a Christmas person, you can either turn off now or you can just create this as like November, December self-care. Mm-hmm. You don't have to call it festive. You can just call it winter survival. I think actually if you're really needing some festiveness, the Christmas market at Potsdamer Platz has been open for weeks. I think they do Oktoberfest and then they just go straight into Christmas, which I fucking respect.
Yeah. They just put up a bit of extra tinsel.
Yeah, it's literally all the same stands. It's just little Lebkuchen, but they just put up some tinsel. So you can do that. I would also say, with the supermarket options of Berlin, German Christmas cookies, which is foreign to us, I think. I think it's an American thing. Like the Germans imported it to America. They all talk about baking their Christmas cookies, and we have the Plätzchen here.
Yeah. Well, Plätzchen I think are smaller than cookies.
Well, yeah, everything is just turned up to fucking 75 in America. Jesus
A
Christ.
Plätzchen is like a little butter cakes. Like a little that's what my mum always makes. These little butter cakes.
Yeah.
You have a little star. You press them little star shapes. And moons and stuff.
Well, people have lots of different ones, and I love a Plätzchen. I love a bunter Teller. But they're already in the supermarkets now, and I would just like to shout out for the Spekulatius. I tried to resist buying them because I was like, it's too early. It's too early. It's October. Don't do it. And then I just said,
fuck it,
fuck that.
I want a Spekulatius.
I only get them for this time of the year. So I think those are really good, and they come in big boxes and they're great, and you should just get them, and you can dip them into anything. You can dip them into coffee, into tea. It's really nice to dip them into Glühwein, mulled wine, which is my next point. I haven't had a Glühwein yet this season, but as God is my witness, I will have had one by the next time we record. Because, again, something you think, oh, I don't want to make myself sick of it. No, fuck all of that. Fuck all of that. I'm sick of fascism and the rise of the far right. I am not going to get sick of Glühwein. Don't drink that much of it at once, I will say. But yes, so just go and have some. It's around in Berlin now. If you don't know where to get it, you can buy it in a shop or you can make it yourself.
Yeah.
Just fucking have some. Have some hot wine. Why not?
I've already seen it in my supermarket.
Yes.
Glühwein, yeah. You just
And it's
put it in
really fucking cheap in the supermarkets here. You can get a carton, a litre for 99 cents.
Tetra Pak. They
And just put a little bit of brandy in there. You can put some oranges in there. Make it fancy. Put it in a little flask. Go for a walk. Or you can just make a punch. Doesn't happen to be alcoholic, but just make it festive. It's all good.
Peel, put a bit of orange
Exactly.
peel.
Just, there you go. Go and enjoy those things. And then dip a little Spekulatius into it. They're really fucking cheap, these cookies, as well.
Is there any German pastry types things that you don't like? Do you like? Where do you stand on Zimtsternchen?
I don't mind a Zimtsternchen.
Okay.
But they are quite zimty.
They are, okay. But you do like Spekulatius.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay.
They're just so good. They're not too sweet. They're like I guess they're like a ginger, like a hard gingerbread, we would say.
Right,
I find the Lebkuchen, which is the German ginger, they're more cakey.
Yeah.
And
do you like them?
I do, but it has to be like a very good one. I think they can be quite dry. And they also have these weird wafers on them sometimes because I'm assuming Catholicism.
That's it's sort of a paper thing.
Yeah, it's odd.
I thought that was just to keep the tint from falling out the bottom of the ginger. I don't know the ginger. But I don't know. It didn't have a religious association.
Yeah, no, I'm quite into all the German stuff because it's not like super sweet, and I quite like that, and I like all of the.
Because some people don't get on with that stuff at all. They just think.
No, I like it. I think it's one of the reasons I'm still here.
If you can.
That and the 10% megas.
Okay.
Because fuck me, it's not. What else is going on? Nothing. Anyway, that's my tips for now.
Good.
Next time I'll have some more. They really just need to open those Christmas markets. That's maybe what Linda can do. He's a business bro. Just go straight now and fucking open a Christmas market somewhere. Christian.
Yeah, he's out of a job.
He's out of a job.
He might as well.
Oh, dear love.
That'd be funny. He's got a beard as well now, so he could grow it out a little bit and pretend to be Santa.
It'd be really funny if he just leaned hard into doing kind of like griftery things. Oh, that would be good. Anyway.
Right. Well, that was a very exciting crisis episode of Megan's Mega Can.
It is. Hopefully we'll have less to discuss next time. That would be nice, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Seriously though, everybody, take gentle care of yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes put your phone away.
And do something you love doing.
Yeah, we love you.
Have a good weekend.
Goodbye. Have
Bye.
a good weekend.
Mega can. German news in English with a cocktail can. The German news, it's quite a test. With Megan's Mega, you're feeling refreshed. Megan's Mega can. German news in English with a cocktail can. Deutsche Nachrichten sind düster und schwer. Down the Mega.
Defy the fear.
Yeah.
It's actually it's quite a positive message to give to
think
people.
so.
I like to think that we have quite a positive impact on our listeners.
I hope so.
Because we try and get them to defy the fear of listening to the news all day.
I mean, it's better than reading a German newspaper. Surely.
I would definitely recommend listening to our podcast more than reading any German newspaper.
German newspapers barely have pictures.
No.
Like fucking, it's just a brick of text.
Oh yeah, and they seem to make a
awful.
virtue of it. They think it's like so great to have no
Oh,
text.
not like you Americans
pictures.
with your fucking
Colour pictures.
decadent pictures in
I
your
know.
newspapers.
Yeah,
What's
but-
that? A crossword puzzle? Oh, no
You have
wonder
to-
you had Trump. Jesus Christ, everyone! Like, there's a middle ground.
You have to concentrate on the news. It's very important, and you have to like keep it there.
Just have a mega.
Have a mega. Give us a picture every now and then.
Just a
and-
wee picture, maybe of,
Yeah.
a diagram.